And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up to fail. That was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. No. You saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
I mean,
it was too long. It was long enough. It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone and they didn't like them.
If they had had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had, she would have been able to rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team.
In this video, Bill Maher invited a pair of particularly woke guests onto Real Time with Bill Maher, and ended up shutting them down completely. You know things are spiraling when even Bill Maher, who often leans left, is forced to call out the absurdity of certain narratives being pushed. The irony. The same people who label right-wingers as lunatic conspiracy theorists are now peddling their own wild claims about election fraud. For years, conservatives have pushed for voting reforms to ensure election integrity, only to be dismissed or outright vilified by the left. And now, those same critics are suddenly voicing concerns about shady activities in the elections, essentially accusing Donald Trump of stealing the vote. It's hypocrisy at its finest. I end this clip. Bill Maher doesn't hold back. He dismantles their talking points with precision, riddled with contradictions and hyperbole. Their arguments were no match for Maher's sharp critique. Let's dive into the moment he obliterated their woke logic.
Everything the candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes and like always begging for money and knocking on doors? And we've got people knocking on doors. We don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when if you a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy, which they don't care about. Who might emerge as the strongest Democratic opposition leader in the next Trump era? Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, like Adam Schiff, he won right big. And
I like Wes Moore.
Wes Moore's fantastic. He's in Maryland.
Yeah.
But who's going to be the one? Gavin Newsom, we have here in this state. He's already like called the legislature to. Trump hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. There was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance.
Let's break this down. The idea that the Democratic Party was somehow forced to make Kamala Harris their candidate is absurd. The party wasn't under any obligation. They could have picked anyone. If the people pulling the strings in the Democratic Party are as brilliant as some claim, why would they knowingly back a candidate they thought would fail? If Harris was destined for failure from the start, why not choose someone else better suited to the role? The logic here just doesn't hold up. Now, onto another bizarre claim. That Fortune 500 companies are more likely to appoint a woman CEO when the company is on the brink of collapse. Reality check. If that statistic is even accurate, the far more likely explanation is that struggling companies are willing to take bigger risks. After years of failing under male leadership, they might bring in a woman as a fresh perspective or a turnaround leader. That's not some conspiracy to set women up for failure. It's an attempt to salvage what's left. This kind of thinking, assuming there's a grand plot to undermine women, just shows how disconnected the woke narrative can be from reality. Instead of recognizing the complexities of leadership in high-stakes situations, they cling to absurd theories. It's delusional, reductionist, and perfectly emblematic of the left's obsession with identity over substance.
I think that is a very high degree of difficulty put on anybody, and I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but will never know that. But I will tell you that, like, there's never been anybody who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign. Why?
Democrat needed to run away from
I don't know
the
if you know this, but the Vice President of the United States is basically shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
Like, you couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, it's this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days is not long enough to know somebody.
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what they.
No.
You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent for 8 years.
Okay.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates, and by the time at the end of that, most people knew who he was. Most people.
Yeah.
You drop somebody in the middle of the top 3 days out, 3 months out. You are going to have to spend a lot of time trying to introduce yourself to the country while also being in a steel cage death match with Donald Trump.
As the debate heated up, it became clear there would be no common ground. Only Bill Maher steadily bulldozing his guests. With sharp, unrelenting arguments, Maher didn't give them a single chance. If you enjoy watching someone calmly dismantle nonsense in real time, this is your clip. So hit that subscribe button and let's get into it.
But I don't know if you ever watched this show, but I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah.
At the top, we were talking about this, and he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's like literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion.
A lot of it.
Some of it, yeah.
I mean, they represent like 2% of our country.
There's a few special PACs in there that saw $100 million
those
plus.
are bad too.
I think you can believe that you can have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
You're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out, or in a week. Did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? Yeah, people.
How are you going to
ridiculous. We just get sicker of them.
What?
How are you going to tell people they can't talk about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making a law.
Bill Maher was absolutely on point in this episode of Real Time. I don't always agree with him, but he nailed it here. His take on fixing American politics. Get rid of lobbyists, ban outside money, and ensure politicians earn only their government salaries. No third-party donations, no backdoor deals. Sounds simple, right? But let's be real. Even in that dream scenario, corruption would still sneak in through under-the-table deals. That's politics. Still, what really stood out was how Maher completely dismantled the arguments of the two woke guests on his left. I couldn't even tell you their names. Their takes were so flimsy they collapsed on contact. Maher wasn't just debating. He was cutting through the nonsense with surgical precision, though. Was Maher right to call them out? And with the system we've got, is there any hope of fixing American politics? Let's talk.